Among some animals, especially birds, God has blessed them with an instinctive process called imprinting. As a gosling emerges from her shell and hatches out into the world, she fixes her vision on the first thing that she sees, her mother goose. And her little brain imprints on her mother as her source of all things. She will focus on, follow, mimic, and model all of her life and behaviors after her mother goose in order to instinctively become an adult goose over time. Rarely but occasionally, a new gosling will imprint on the wrong object. One such occurrence happened when a young girl in rural Canada discovered some goose eggs in an abandoned nest. She took them home, incubated them, and was present during the successful hatching process. The goslings imprinted on her as their source of all things. Fly Away Home is a film recounting this young girl's adventure. They followed her everywhere. She and her father soon realized this adventure came with great responsibility. She would have to teach them how to become adult geese. Eating, swimming, flying, all had to be encouraged for them to become successful geese. Then came the realization of migration. She would have to teach them how to fly south for the winter. Her father taught her to fly a powered ultralight aircraft. Together, when the time was right, they flew their little flock among the migration route through Canada and down the eastern seaboard of the United States, ultimately teaching them to re-imprint on their fellow geese, modeling migrating goose behavior so they could become the geese that they were meant to be. Let's use this imprinting illustration to loosely illustrate the condition of the human race. Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden were created in the image or the imprint of God. They were to identify Him as their source of all things. They are to follow His instructions, mimic and model after His character and purposes. Then the serpent arrives and attempts to re-imprint them after a new source of all things, namely an independent self. The re-imprinting is successful. They decided to become like God, knowing good and evil. But the transformation of this re-imprinting leads to disaster, as we all know. So God institutes a plan to rebirth human beings into a new race in the likeness of His Son. At rebirth, newly created humans imprint once again, identifying Jesus as their source of all things, reestablishing the original relationship between creator and creature. With reconciliation successful, God's Spirit begins to the transformation that's necessary for the new children of God to become the people they were meant to be.